Dr. Zixnax, lead xenobiologist of the Galactic Research Institute, stared at the holographic display with a mixture of fascination and horror. His tentacles quivered with excitement as he absorbed the data streaming before his compound eyes. "By the great void," he muttered, his voice a blend of awe and disbelief. These humans are absolutely insane." His assistant, a young Blorksian named Glorp, gurgled in agreement. "I know, right? It's like they've never heard of self-preservation. Did you see the footage of them jumping out of perfectly good aircraft for fun?" Zixnax's eye stalks swiveled towards Glorp. "That's nothing. Look at this," he gestured dramatically at a particular data point. "They willingly ingest neurotoxins for recreational purposes. They call it alcohol, can you believe it?" Glorp's gelatinous body rippled with laughter. "Maybe they're trying to pickle themselves from the inside out. You know, for science." "Science," indeed, Zixnax chuckled, his laughter sounding like a malfunctioning air conditioner. "But jokes aside, these humans are fascinating. They come from a Class 12 death world, yet they've not only survived but thrived. It's unprecedented." The two aliens turned their attention back to the holographic display, which now showed various scenes from Earth humans running marathons, climbing mountains, and even setting themselves on fire for internet points. "It's decided," then Zixnax declared, his tentacles waving with determination. "We must study these creatures more closely. Prepare the abduction beam, Glorp. We're going human hunting." Glorp's body jiggled with excitement. "Ooh, can we use the new tractor beam? The one with the disco lights?" Zixnax sighed, his eye stalks drooping slightly. "Fine, but no playing staying alive this time. The last batch of test subjects wouldn't stop doing this weird dance thing." And so, with a flash of multicolored lights and the faint strains of the bee gees, the alien scientists set off on their mission to study the most perplexing species in the galaxy. Meanwhile, on Earth, in the bustling metropolis of New York City, life went on as usual. Which is to say, it was absolute chaos. Sarah Johnson, a 28-year-old barista with dreams of becoming a stand-up comedian, was in the middle of her usual morning routine. This involved chugging an unholy amount of espresso, dodging tourists on her way to work, and silently judging everyone's fashion choices. As she power-walked down the sidewalk, Sarah's internal monologue was in full swing. "Look at this guy," she thought, eyeing a businessman in a pinstripe suit. "It's 90 degrees out, buddy. Are you trying to cosplay as a sweaty candy cane?" She was so engrossed in her mental roast session that she almost missed the flash of light in the alley ahead. Almost. "What the," Sarah muttered, slowing her pace. She squinted into the alleyway, where a shimmering rainbow-colored beam was descending from the sky. Either I've finally lost it, or someone's throwing the world's most fabulous alien abduction. As if on cue, the beam intensified, and Sarah felt herself being lifted off the ground. "Oh, come on," she yelled, flailing her arms. "I haven't even had my second coffee yet." In a blink, Sarah found herself in a sterile, white room that screamed alien spaceship louder than a B-movie prop department. She was strapped to a table, surrounded by strange, beeping machines and what appeared to be a sentient blob of jello. "Greetings, human specimen," a voice said, and Sarah turned her head to see what could only be described as a walking, talking calamari special. "I am Dr. Zixnax, and this is my assistant, Glorp. We have brought you here for study." Sarah blinked slowly, then burst out laughing. "Okay, which one of my friends put you up to this? Was it Dave?" "It was Dave, wasn't it? I swear, if this is about that time I replaced his shampoo with hair removal cream." Dr. Zixnax's tentacles twitched in confusion. "I assure you, human, this is no joke. We are genuine extraterrestrial researchers, and you are now part of a groundbreaking experiment." "Aha," Sarah said, her voice dripping with sarcasm. "And I'm the Queen of England. Nice tentacles, by the way. Do you use them to juggle calamari rings in your spare time?" Glorp gurgled something that sounded suspiciously like a laugh, earning a stern look from Dr. Zixnax. "Your humor defense mechanism is noted," Human the alien scientist said, his tone a mix of annoyance and fascination. "But I assure you, our intentions are purely scientific. We aim to unlock the secret of your species' remarkable resilience." Sarah raised an eyebrow. "Resilience? Have you seen us? We cry when our favorite TV show gets canceled." "Ah, but you survive on a planet that should, by all accounts, be uninhabitable," Dr. Zixnax exclaimed, his tentacles waving excitedly. Your gravity, your atmospheric composition, your extreme temperature variations, it's all quite deadly. Yeah, we call that Tuesday, Sarah quipped. So what's your big plan? Probe me. Turn me inside out. Make me listen to an entire Nickelback album. Dr. Zixnax's eye stalks twitched in what might have been amusement. Nothing so crude, I assure you. We've developed a serum that we believe will unlock your species' hidden potential. Think of it as a superhero formula, if you will. Sarah's eyes widened. Hold up. You're telling me you're going to pump me full of some alien juice that'll give me superpowers? That's actually kind of awesome. Do I get to choose? Because I've always wanted to be able to find the other sock that disappears in the dryer. The effects will be unique to each individual, Dr. Zixnax explained, ignoring Sarah's sock comment. We've studied your planet's popular culture and theorized that the serum will manifest abilities based on your innate traits and desires. So, no sock finding superpower, Sarah pouted. Fine. Hit me with your best shot, calamari face. But if I turn into a giant green rage monster, I'm holding you personally responsible for any property damage. Dr. Zixnax nodded solemnly, then turned to his gelatinous assistant. Glorp, prepare the serum. And for the love of the void, stop playing with the tractor beam controls. We don't need another disco ball incident. As Glorp slithered away, Sarah couldn't help but laugh. You know, for evil alien scientists, you guys are pretty entertaining. Ever thought about starting a comedy duo? I could see it now, calamari and jello out of this world humor. Before Dr. Zixnax could respond, Glorp returned with a syringe filled with a glowing, iridescent liquid. Sarah eyed it warily. That better not be radioactive. I've seen enough superhero movies to know how that ends. I assure you, it's perfectly safe, Dr. Zixnax said, taking the syringe from Glorp. Well, mostly safe. There's only a 0.01% chance of spontaneous combustion. What Sarah yelped, but it was too late. The alien scientist had already plunged the needle into her arm. For a moment, nothing happened. Then Sarah felt a tingling sensation spreading from her arm throughout her entire body. It was like every cell in her body was doing the cha-shide. "Ha," she said, blinking rapidly. "Is it supposed to feel like I just chugged 10 energy drinks and rode a roller coaster backwards?" Dr. Zixnax and Glorp watched her intently, their alien faces a mixture of excitement and apprehension. "Fascinating," the doctor muttered. "No visible mutations yet. How do you feel, human?" Sarah was about to make another sarcastic comment when suddenly she felt a strange pressure building up inside her. It was like her entire body was a shaken-up soda can, ready to explode. And then, it happened. With a sound like a thunderclap, Sarah's body released a massive burst of energy. The straps holding her down disintegrated, and she found herself floating several feet above the examination table. "Holy shit," she exclaimed, her voice echoing with a strange, otherworldly resonance. "I'm flying. And glowing. And, wait, why do I suddenly know the square root of pi to the 1000th digit?" Dr. Zixnax's tentacles were practically tying themselves in knots with excitement. "Incredible. It appears the serum has enhanced your physical abilities and dramatically increased your cognitive functions." Glorp gurgled enthusiastically, his gelatinous body vibrating at a frequency that caused nearby instruments to rattle. Sarah, meanwhile, was having the time of her life. She zoomed around the room, leaving a trail of sparkling energy in her wake. "This is amazing. I feel like I could bench press a bus, or finally understand why people like kale." As she zipped past a reflective surface, Sarah caught a glimpse of herself. Her hair was floating around her head like she was underwater, and her eyes were glowing with an inner light. She looked like a cross between a superhero and a deep-sea anglerfish. "Okay, this is officially the weirdest day of my life," she declared, coming to a stop in front of the alien scientists. "And considering I once woke up in a bathtub full of peeps after a particularly wild Easter party, that's saying something." Dr. Zixnax was furiously taking notes on a holographic pad. "Fascinating. The serum seems to have tapped into your species' latent psionic abilities. You're exhibiting signs of telekinesis, enhanced intellect, and possibly even matter manipulation." Sarah raised an eyebrow. "Matter manipulation? What is that even?" She was cut off as her hand suddenly turned into a spatula. "Oh, that's what that means." Glorp made a sound that could only be described as an excited gurgle. Sarah pointed her spatula hand at him accusingly. Don't you start. This is weird enough without commentary from sentient pudding. Just then, alarms began blaring throughout the ship. Red lights flashed, and a robotic voice announced, "Warning, unidentified energy signature detected. Containment protocols failing." Dr. Zixnax's eye stalks drooped in what Sarah assumed was the alien equivalent of an eye roll. Oh, not again. Glorp, did you forget to recalibrate the quantum flux capacitor after the last test subject? Glorp's body rippled in what might have been a shrug. Sarah couldn't help but laugh. You guys run a real tight ship here, don't you? Let me guess, your last performance review was just a post-it note that said needs improvement in Comic Sans. Before either alien could respond, the ship gave a violent lurch. Sarah, still floating, barely noticed. The aliens, however, were sent tumbling across the room. Hoa there, calamari-faced Sarah said, reaching out with her mind to steady Dr. Zixnax. No need to go head over tentacles. Or tentacles over whatever you call those things. The alien scientist regained his balance, looking at Sarah with a mixture of awe and concern. This is unprecedented. Your powers are growing at an exponential rate. We must contain you before. He was cut off as another alarm blared, this one even louder than the first. The robotic voice returned, now sounding decidedly panicked for an AI, warning multiple energy signatures detected on planetary surface. The serum is spreading. Sarah's eyes widened. Wait, what? What do you mean it's spreading? Did you drop a vial of your super juice or something? Dr. Zixnax's tentacles writhed nervously. Not exactly. You see, when we beamed you up, we may have accidentally ... scooped up a few dozen other humans as well. You, what Sarah exclaimed, her voice causing the ship's windows to rattle. How do you accidentally abduct a few dozen people? What, did you set your tractor beam to party size instead of single serving? Glorp made a sound that was suspiciously close to a snicker. Dr. Zixnax shot him a look that clearly said, not helping. It was an honest mistake, the alien scientist protested. We were testing a new wide-range abduction beam, and well, it worked better than expected. Sarah pinched the bridge of her nose, a feat made more impressive by the fact that she was still floating and glowing. So let me get this straight. You've basically given superpowers to a random sampling of New Yorkers. Do you have any idea what you've done? As if on cue, the ship's view screen flickered to life, showing scenes from the streets of New York. It was chaos. Beautiful, hilarious chaos. A hot dog vendor was using newly acquired telekinesis to operate all his condiment dispensers at once, creating what could only be described as a mustard and ketchup ballet. A group of tourists, suddenly blessed with the ability to fly, were taking selfies with the Statue of Liberty from the torch. In Central Park, a jogger had developed super speed and was leaving a trail of fire in her wake, much to the confusion of the ducks trying to follow her for breadcrumbs. And in Times Square, a street performer dressed as Elmo was now able to actually shoot lightning from his fingertips, much to the delight and terror of onlooking children. Sarah couldn't help but laugh. Oh my God, it's like someone gave the entire city a combination of Red Bull and magic mushrooms. This is simultaneously the best and worst thing I've ever seen. Dr. Zixnax was practically tying himself in knots with stress. This is a disaster. We've completely contaminated the test environment. The Galactic Research Ethics Board is going to have my tentacles for this. Glorp, meanwhile, seemed to be thoroughly enjoying the show. He had somehow procured a bucket of what looked like alien popcorn and was happily slurping it up while watching the mayhem unfold on screen. Sarah floated over to the aliens, her glowing aura casting weird shadows across the ship's interior. Okay, boys, let's not panic. Sure, you've basically turned New York into a giant, superpowered mosh pit, but look on the bright side. Both aliens turned to stare at her, Dr. Zixnax's eye stalks quivering with anxiety. And what, pray tell, is the bright side of this catastrophe? Sarah grinned, her smile now literal, radiant. You wanted to study human resilience, right? Well, now you get to see it in action. Trust me, if any species can roll with suddenly getting superpowers, it's New Yorkers. We deal with weirder stuff than this before breakfast most days. As if to prove her point, the view screen showed a construction worker, now gifted with super strength, casually lifting an entire bulldozer to retrieve his dropped sandwich. See, Sarah said, gesturing at the screen. Adaptation in action. Now, how about we go down there and see this experiment of yours up close and personal? Dr. Zixnax's tentacles waved in alarm. Absolutely not. It's far too dangerous. We need to contain this situation, not exacerbate it. Sarah rolled her eyes, which in her current state created a mini light show. Come on, Doc. You can't tell me you're not dying to see the results of your little science project. Besides, do you really think you can contain this? The cat's out of the bag. Besides, do you really think you can contain this? The cat's out of the bag, the genie's out of the bottle. And the superpowered New Yorkers are definitely out of your control. Dr. Zixnax's eye stalks drooped in defeat. I suppose you have a point, but how do you propose we navigate this chaos? We can't exactly waltz down there in our current forms. Sarah grinned mischievously, her glowing eyes twinkling with an idea. Leave that to me, calamari face. I've got a feeling these new powers of mine can do more than just make me float and glow like a disco ball at a rave. Concentrating hard, Sarah focused on the aliens. To their astonishment and Glorp's excited gurgling, a shimmer of energy enveloped them, and suddenly they appeared as ordinary humans. Dr. Zixnax, now resembling a lanky professor complete with tweed jacket and thick-rimmed glasses, examined his new hands with a mixture of horror and fascination. By the void, what have you done to us? Sarah, barely containing her laughter, replied, Relax, Doc. It's just an illusion. Though I've got to say, the tweed really brings out your eyes. All of them. Glorp, meanwhile, had been transformed into the appearance of a rotund, jolly man with rosy cheeks. His human form was jiggling slightly, an echo of his true gelatinous nature. All right, boys, Sarah announced, clapping her hands together. Let's go see what kind of wonderful chaos your little experiment has unleashed on the Big Apple. And maybe grab a slice of pizza while we're at it. I'm suddenly starving. Must be a side effect of becoming a human glow stick. With that, Sarah concentrated again, and the trio found themselves teleported to the streets of New York. The scene that greeted them was even more surreal up close. A taxi cab zoomed by overhead, its driver gleefully shouting, "No more traffic jams for me, baby." On the sidewalk, a group of breakdancers were putting on a show that defied the laws of physics, their bodies bending and twisting in impossible ways as they floated inches above the ground. A hot dog vendor was doing a brisk trade, using his newfound powers of duplication to serve a line of customers that stretched around the block. Each customer received a perfect copy of the original hot dog, complete with their choice of toppings. Holy quantum entanglement, Dr. Zixnax muttered, his human disguise's eyes wide with shock. The serum's effects seemed to have manifested differently in each subject, based on their individual traits and desires. It's fascinating. Sarah nodded, absently using her telekinesis to snag a floating pretzel from a vendor who was experimenting with his own levitation powers. Told you New Yorkers would adapt quickly, though I've got to say, I didn't expect the pigeons to develop superpowers too. She pointed to a flock of pigeons that were engaged in what appeared to be an aerial dogfight with a group of superpower-enhanced squirrels. The battle for control of the park's airspace was fierce, with acorns and other projectiles flying everywhere. Thorpe, in his jolly human form, was thoroughly enjoying the spectacle. He attempted to clap his hands in excitement, only to realize that his illusory form didn't quite match up with his blobby true self. The result was a weird, squelching sound that drew some odd looks from passers-by. Okay, Team, Sarah said, turning to her alien companions. We need to figure out how widespread this is, and if there are any negative side effects. Don't want the city turning into a scene from a Michael Bay movie. Well, any more than it already has. As if on cue, a massive explosion rocked the street. The trio turned to see a sheepish-looking teenager standing amid the smoking remains of what used to be a mailbox. Sorry, the kid called out. I was just trying to send a letter. He held up a charred envelope as evidence. Sarah sighed, running a hand through her still glowing hair. Right. Maybe we should start by finding someone in charge. Preferably someone who hasn't turned into a walking nuclear reactor. They made their way through the chaotic streets, dodging flying cars, stepping over spontaneously sprouting trees courtesy of an overzealous botanist with a new green thumb, and narrowly avoiding being caught in the crossfire of what appeared to be a superpowered breakdancing battle. As they turned a corner, they came face to face with a frazzled-looking police officer. The woman was desperately trying to direct traffic, a task made significantly more difficult by the fact that half the vehicles were now airborne. "Excuse me, officer," Sarah called out, approaching cautiously. "We're here to help with the situation. Any idea who's coordinating the response to this event?" The officer turned to them, her expression a mix of exhaustion and disbelief. "Coordinating? Lady, does this look coordinated to you?" She gestured wildly at the chaos around them. The mayor's holed up in City Hall, probably trying to figure out how to spin this for his re-election campaign. The fire department's busy dealing with spontaneous human combustion cases. And me? I'm just trying to keep people from using the Empire State Building as a launch pad for their newfound flying abilities. Dr. Zixnax, still awkward in his human disguise, cleared his throat. "Perhaps we could speak with your superior? We have some insight into the cause of these events." The officer raised an eyebrow. "Oh yeah? And who exactly are you people?" Sarah, thinking quickly, flashed her most winning smile. "We're consultants, specialists in unusual phenomena. You know, X-Files type stuff." "Re-8," the officer drawled, clearly skeptical. "And I suppose you've got some idea how to fix this mess." Before Sarah could respond, a commotion down the street caught their attention. A group of people were gathered around a man who appeared to be growing and growing and growing. "Oh, for the love of," the officer muttered. "Not another one. That's the third Godzilla wannabe today." She turned back to Sarah and the disguised aliens. "Look, if you really want to help, head to City Hall. But be careful. Last I heard, the mayor had developed the ability to make people agree with everything he says. Could be a real problem come budget season." With that, the officer rushed off towards the growing giant, shouting into her radio for backup. Sarah turned to her alien companions, a mischievous glint in her glowing eyes. "Well, boys, looks like we're heading to City Hall. Ready to see how Earth politicians handle a city full of superhumans." Dr. Zixnax looked apprehensive. "Is it wise to involve ourselves in your planet's governance? The Prime Directive clearly states." "Wrong franchise," Doc. Sarah cut him off. "Besides, you threw the rulebook out the window when you decided to turn New York into Superhero Central. Come on, it'll be fun. And if things go south, I'm pretty sure I can teleport us to Tahiti." Glorp gurgled enthusiastically, his human form jiggling in what Sarah assumed was agreement. As they made their way towards City Hall, weaving through the superpowered chaos of New York, Sarah couldn't help but laugh. "You know," she said to her alien companions, "when I woke up this morning, I thought the craziest thing I'd have to deal with was an oat milk shortage at the coffee shop. Just goes to show, you never know what a day in New York will bring." Dr. Zixnax's human disguise managed to look both fascinated and terrified. "Is it always like this on your planet?" Sarah grinned. "Nah, usually it's much weirder. This is just a Tuesday. Now let's go see if we can keep the mayor from accidentally mind-controlling the entire city council into approving a statue of himself shooting lasers from his eyes." And with that, the unlikely trio continued their journey through the superpowered streets of New York, ready to face whatever bizarre challenges lay ahead. Little did they know, the real adventure was just beginning. Meanwhile, high above the Earth's atmosphere, the Galactic Research Institute's Oversight Committee was having an emergency meeting. "You're telling me," growled Supreme Overseer Blardnax, his tentacles quivering with rage, "that not only did Zixnax and his bumbling assistant unleash an untested serum on a Class 12 Deathworld species, but they're now down there participating in the chaos." The holographic display showed various scenes from New York. Sarah floating and glowing, Dr. Zixnax in his human disguise, looking bewildered at a hot dog, and Glorp. Well, being Glorp. A meek-looking alien with far too many eyes raised a spindly appendage. "If I may, Supreme Overseer, this could be an unprecedented opportunity for research. We've never had the chance to observe a Deathworld species under these conditions before." Blardnax's eye stalk swiveled to fix the speaker with a withering glare. "An opportunity? An opportunity? This is a catastrophe. Do you have any idea what will happen if these humans master their new abilities? They'll be unstoppable. They'll overrun the galaxy. They'll... Sir, another committee member interjected. "According to our latest scans, they appear to be using their new powers primarily for improving their morning commute and making viral videos." The Supreme Overseer deflated slightly, his rage giving way to confusion. What? The holographic display changed to show various scenes: a businessman using teleportation to hop from meeting to meeting, a group of teenagers with gravity manipulation powers setting up an elaborate domino effect through the city for a TikTok video, and a chef using pyrokinesis to perfectly caramelize a creme brulee. It seems the committee member continued that rather than immediately turning to galactic domination, the humans are adapting these powers to their daily lives. Blargnax stared at the display, his multiple mouths opening and closing silently. Finally, he managed to sputter, but they're Deathworlders. They're supposed to be violent, aggressive, not using superpowers to make artisanal coffee and reorganize their closets. Another committee member, this one resembling a sentient cloud of gas, wafted forward. Perhaps, Supreme Overseer, we've misunderstood these humans. Maybe their resilience isn't just about surviving harsh conditions, but about adapting to any situation with creativity and humor. The display now showed a group of powered-up humans engaged in what appeared to be a massive, superpowered pillow fight in Central Park. Feathers and laughter filled the air as participants used telekinesis, super strength, and even weather manipulation to gain the upper hand. Blargnax slumped in his hover chair, all fight gone out of him. Fine, let them have their fun. But I want a full report on my desk by the end of the solar cycle. And somebody gets Zix-Nax on the communicator. I have a few choice words for that tentacle-brained excuse for a scientist. As the committee scrambled to follow orders, Blargnax turned back to the holographic display. Despite himself, he felt a tendril of curiosity unfurling in his primary brain cluster. These humans were certainly full of surprises. Perhaps, just perhaps, this catastrophe might turn out to be interesting after all. But he'd airlock himself before admitting that to anyone, especially that bumbling Zix-Nax. Back on Earth, Sarah, Dr. Zix-Nax, and Glorp had finally made it to City Hall. The scene that greeted them was, if possible, even more chaotic than the streets. The mayor, a portly man with a comb-over that seemed to have developed a life of its own, was floating a few feet off the ground. Every time he spoke, the people around him nodded vigorously, their eyes glazed over. ... And that's why I think we should rename the city Super Superior York, the mayor was saying. All in favor. A chorus of IA rang out from the entranced city officials. Sarah rolled her eyes so hard she thought they might fall out of her head. Oh boy, looks like we got here just in time. Hey, Mr. Mayor, she called out. How about you cool it with the mind control mojo for a sec? The mayor turned, his comb-over swishing dramatically. And who might you be? Wait, let me guess. More superheroes here to save the day, his voice dripped with sarcasm. Sarah grinned, her aura pulsing with barely contained energy. Not exactly. Think of us more as consultants, specialists in weird shit. And buddy, this she gestured at the floating mayor and his zombified staff. This qualifies as premium-grade weird shit. Dr. Zix-Nax, still uncomfortable in his human disguise, stepped forward. Sir, we believe we can offer some insight into the current situation. You see, this is all the result of a highly advanced alien serum that... Yeah, alien serum, superpowers, chaos in the streets, the mayor interrupted, waving a dismissive hand. Tell me something I don't know. I've got reports coming in faster than I can mind control people to agree with me. What I need is a solution, not an explanation. Glorp, in his jolly human form, made a series of excited gurgles that his illusory mouth somehow translated into words. Ooh, what if we throw a big party, with lots of jiggly food? Everyone, including Sarah and Dr. Zix-Nax, turned to stare at Glorp. I can't believe I'm saying this, Sarah said slowly, but our gelatinous friend might be onto something. Not the jiggly food part, but the party idea. The mayor's comb-over twitched with interest. Go on. Sarah began to pace, her mind racing faster than ever thanks to her enhanced intellect. Look, we can't undo what's happened. The cat's out of the bag, the genie's out of the bottle, and the superpowers are definitely out of whatever alien test tube they came from. She shot a pointed look at Dr. Zix-Nax, who had the decency to look sheepish. But she continued, we can control the narrative. Instead of panicking or trying to suppress this, why not embrace it? Throw a citywide celebration of New York's new talents. Show the world that New Yorkers can handle anything, even spontaneously developing superpowers. The mayor stroked his chin thoughtfully, his comb-over mimicking the motion. A celebration, you say? HFY. It would certainly be good for tourism. And think of the merchandising opportunities. Sarah nodded enthusiastically. Exactly. We could have demonstrations of new powers, workshops on responsible superhuman behavior, maybe even a talent show. Turn this whole thing into a positive before someone decides to go all supervillain on us. Dr. Zixnax leaned in close to Sarah, whispering urgently. Are you sure this is wise? We still don't fully understand the long-term effects of the serum. And what about containment? The Galactic Research Ethics Board will have my tentacles for this. Sarah patted the disguised alien on the shoulder. Relax, Doc. Sometimes you've got to roll with the punches. Or in this case, the spontaneous superpowers. Besides, do you have a better idea? Before Dr. Zixnax could respond, the mayor clapped his hands together, his enthusiasm causing him to float a few inches higher. I love it. We'll call it the Big Apple Super-Duper Power Party. I can see the tagline now, New York, where even the pigeons have superpowers. As if on cue, a pigeon with glowing red eyes zoomed past the window, locked in aerial combat with a squirrel shooting acorns from its paws like a furry machine gun. Speaking of pigeons, Sarah said, we might want to do something about the enhanced wildlife situation. I don't think Central Park can handle much more squirrel-based property damage. The mayor waved a dismissive hand. Details. We'll sort that out later. For now, we need to start planning this party. I want every borough involved. Queens can handle the power demonstration arena. Brooklyn, you reign charge of the artisanal, superpowered food court. The Bronx. I want you coordinating the enhanced wildlife rodeo. Let's turn that squirrel situation into entertainment. Staten Island. Well, Staten Island can be Staten Island, but with more pizzazz. As the mayor rattled off assignments, his enthusiasm growing with each word, Sarah leaned over to Dr. Zixnax. See? Humans are nothing if not adaptable. Give us lemons, we make lemonade. Give us superpowers, we throw a party. The disguised alien scientist shook his head in disbelief. It's remarkable. In all my years of research, I've never seen a species react to such a drastic change with such nonchalance. Glorp gurgled happily, his human form jiggling in what Sarah assumed was agreement. Suddenly, the mayor turned to them, his comb-over quivering with excitement. You three, you seem to know what's going on. I'm putting you in charge of the whole shebang. Make it big, make it flashy, and for the love of all that's super, make it marketable. Sarah blinked, momentarily taken aback. Yes, in charge, but we're not even. Brilliant idea, Dr. Zixnax interrupted, surprising both Sarah and Glorp. We accept your generous offer, Mr. Mayor. We'll need full access to all city resources, of course. Sarah shot the alien a questioning look. Dr. Zixnax leaned in close, whispering, this is perfect. We can use this opportunity to study the effects of the serum on a larger scale, and perhaps find a way to stabilize or reverse the process if necessary. Sarah mused. And here I thought you were just getting into the party spirit. All right, let's do this. And so, over the next few weeks, New York City transformed into a veritable superhuman playground. The Big Apple Super-Duper Power Party became the talk of the world, with tourists flooding in from every corner of the globe to witness the spectacle. Central Park became home to the squirrel rodeo, where people with animal communication powers attempted to wrangle the superpowered squirrels into performing increasingly complex acrobatic routines. The New York Times called it a furry ballet of chaos and begrudging cooperation. In Brooklyn, the world's first levitating food trucks served up cuisine that defied both gravity and culinary norms. The molecular gastronomy gone wild booth was particularly popular, offering dishes that transformed from solid to liquid and back again as you ate them. Queens hosted the Power Play Arena, where New Yorkers could showcase their new abilities in a series of challenges and competitions. The telekinetic Tetris tournament drew record crowds, with buildings in the financial district serving as massive, impromptu game boards. Even the subway system got an upgrade, with teleporters stationed at major hubs to help ease congestion. Mind the Gap took on a whole new meaning when the gap could suddenly be bridged by a thought. Through it all, Sarah, Dr. Zixnax, and Glorp worked tirelessly. They coordinated events, managed crises like the Great Pigeon Uprising of Week 2, and collected valuable data on the serum's effects. Dr. Zixnax was in scientist heaven, his disguised form often seen scribbling notes furiously as he observed the powered-up New Yorkers. As the grand finale of the month-long celebration approached, Sarah found herself standing atop the Empire State Building, looking out over the glittering, chaotic, wonderful city. Dr. Zixnax and Glorp joined her, their human disguises flickering slightly in the high winds. "You know," Sarah said, her voice carrying a hint of wistfulness, "part of me is going to miss this when it's over." Dr. Zixnax cleared his throat awkwardly. "About that, I've analyzed the latest data, and it appears the serum's effects are permanent." Sarah whirled to face him, her aura flaring with surprise. "Permanent, you mean?" The alien nodded. "New York, and all its inhabitants who were exposed, will remain enhanced indefinitely." For a moment, Sarah was silent. Then, a slow grin spread across her face. "Well then, I guess the party's just getting started." Glorp gurgled excitedly, his human form doing a little jig that looked decidedly human. "But what about your research?" Sarah asked. "Your boss is back on. Wherever you're from, won't they be mad?" Dr. Zixnax's human disguise managed to look both sheepish and excited. "Oh, they're furious. But they're also fascinated. I've been authorized to establish a permanent research post here on Earth. It seems your species has much to teach us about adaptability and resilience." Sarah laughed, the sound carried on the wind over the bustling, superpowered city below. "Well, in that case, welcome to Earth, boys. I hope you're ready for one hell of a ride." Just then, a group of flying tourists zoomed past, led by a tour guide whose voice was magically amplified. "And on your left, you'll see 3 of the masterminds behind our city's fabulous transformation. Wave hello, everyone." Sarah, Dr. Zixnax, and Glorp waved back, their laughter joining the symphony of joyous chaos that had become New York's new normal. As the sun set on another extraordinary day, casting a golden glow over the city that never sleeps and now never runs out of energy, Sarah couldn't help but feel a sense of pride. Sure, the world had changed dramatically in just a few short weeks. But if there was one thing New Yorkers knew how to do, it was roll with the punches, or in this case, the superpowers. In the distance, the Statue of Liberty stood tall, her torch now literally aflame with energy, a beacon to the world that said, "Give us your tired, your poor, your huddled masses, and we'll give them superpowers in return." The Big Apple had taken a bite out of the extraordinary, and it found it tasted pretty damn good. As for the rest of the world, well, they'd just have to wait and see. After all, if New York could handle superpowers with style, imagine what would happen when the serum inevitably spread to the rest of the planet. But that, as they say, is a story for another day. For now, in a city where the impossible had become the new normal, where pigeons jousted with squirrels in the sky and Wall Street traders literally climbed walls, life went on. A little faster, a lot weirder, but unmistakably, undeniably New York. And somewhere in the cosmos, the Galactic Research Ethics Board was having a collective aneurysm. But that's what you get when you mess with Earth. Expect the unexpected and bring popcorn. Lots and lots of popcorn.